Let's get specific with like a case study that from one of the people who attended the event. Give me an example like what you saw with an individual, what you were able to identify that was holding them back in terms of sales and persuasion, and how you were able to essentially take someone, because I've gotten the results back, they were amazing. You just pick one if you can that kind of represents the whole process.
You talk about it in your book, and you obviously talk about it in the movie, that you and your first employee, the first guy that was selling with you, you would sell circles around everybody else. And then you'd come back in and listen to your sales force, and they'd go, oh, no, it doesn't work. And we go back to selling the penny stock, whatever. And you're going, I don't get it. And you couldn't get it. You would never get it. You are natural at what you do.
Right.
Your brain is wired in such a way that you know whatever it is that you want, you're going to make it happen.
Right.
I'm wired the same way. No matter how many times I've gotten knocked down, it's like, okay, fall down 9, stand up 10. Here we go. I'm not done.
Right.
And the challenge for 99.9% of the population is they're not wired that way. They think that feedback is trying to redirect them some other way, and so they just let go of wantingness. And so they get a car that gets them from point A to point B. They don't need the Rolls Royce or the Lamborghini or whatever it is they really wanted. They get a house that they can afford the mortgage, not the house they really want. You see, people that are successful, highly successful business people, salespeople, entrepreneurs, we don't ask, can I afford that thing? We determine what we want based on what we want, not on what we think we can afford.
Right.
We figure out how to afford the thing that we want.
Right.
And again, it's just so many people are not wired that way. Because I believe in what I'm selling and because you believe in what you're selling, again, you have that thought that you want to turn up their wantingness. You want to show them how to live that life. Your entire company was built on everybody living a life they never even dreamed they could live.
Right.
Except you line up enough of those people in a row. You show enough of those people that you helped, that you trained, and what happens is there's too much proof. Reality is created by validation, and when you have that much validation, when you got hundreds of people making 10 times, 100 times the money they ever thought they could make in one room at the same time, it's contagious. Everybody accepts the reality and says, okay, there's nothing wrong with me, I just need to do something differently. So the first thing Turning Point does is it turns up the wantingness. And I want to give you permission to want what you want, whatever that is. Except I also say the caveat is to savor the wanting as much as the having. Because the challenge with turning up your wantingness when you don't yet have it is you don't yet have it. So you've got to enjoy those times of lean times.
Right.
You know, when I was dead broke, when I was in my early 20s before I figured some things out, I ate a lot of ramen. And ramen, you could buy, 5 bags of ramen for $1.
Right.
And so I ate a lot of ramen. I like ramen still. I like ramen from a nice restaurant now, except I like ramen still. The key to savoring the wanting is to realize it's a joyful thing to go test drive a car that's way beyond your means right now. It's a joyful thing to go tour a house that you could never afford today. Because what happens is your brain starts to say, okay, I want this. I'm giving myself permission to want this. So once we've turned up the wanting, the second step that has to happen for an individual is we need to acknowledge to ourselves, what programs do I hold that are false? What programs are running around in my brain that I think are real, that I think are true, that just are flat out lies? They don't work. They're not true. I'll give you an example. My father was a mean old man. He had something against me my entire life, and so he said a lot of very mean things, programmed my brain at an early age to think I was a piece of crap, that I'd never amount to anything, that I was a mistake. He wished he'd never had me. My mother, on the other hand, was the most amazing, loving, remarkable human being I've ever known. There's only one person on the planet that I've ever met that comes close to her, and that's my wife. Very similar people, filled with love.
Nurturing,
everything,
supportive, yeah.
Everything. My mother, though, I watched work 3 jobs to provide for her 10 children. And when my mother worked that hard, I thought that was what we had to do. I thought that was normal. So she'd work 3 jobs. She'd get up in the morning before we woke up for school. She'd come back after we were already in bed at night, sleeping to get ready for school the next day. And my mother gave me a program. She said, Marshall, work hard, get ahead. Seems like it would make sense, except we all know that if you work hard, what you'll get is more hard work.
Right.
And so what I've got to do is get in there and identify what hardware is that person running. Not just the software. Mm-hmm. What hardware are they running? What things do they hold to be true? You and I believe money comes easily and readily to us.
Right.
We are people and money magnets.
Right.
We know that we have a natural charisma about ourselves. We know that when we walk into a room, and this isn't vanity speaking, it's a fact. It's my truth, it's your truth.
Right.
That when we walk into the room, we walk in as if we already own that room.
Right.
It's not arrogance. The distinction between cockiness and confidence is confidence allows for greatness in other people. we also don't have to pretend we are less than we are to make other people feel better. We say, no, I'd rather help you feel better.
But I think when my people came to your event, I think what happened was somehow you were able to instill in them a self-confidence and a belief that A, they were actually capable of achieving greatness, B, that they were deserving of greatness, and 3, and probably most important of all, that they actually were great.
Yes.
That they were, like, in other words, that you actually are great.
Yep.
Now, maybe there's skills you have to become even better at, and that's why there's always strategy involved, right? But a lot of these people had learned a straight line system, they'd studied, and they were already succeeding and doing well, right? Because normally, you charge a lot of money for your stuff. This was free, but there's very successful people come there, and yet there's this next level up it's like a weird shift that I see, that someone that's doing well, and like that achiever's mentality, they make money, they work really hard, but it's not elegant, it's not fluid. They struggle to make money. And yet when they cross over to that next level up from there, which is like this tacit belief that I'm a money magnet, that I'm capable, deserving of greatness, that I possess the skills necessary to achieve it, and what I don't possess, I'll simply learn.
Right.
And I'll surround myself with people who have what I lack, right? They left your training like parroting those, like, I don't mean parroting, I mean just like really just owning those
Being
thoughts.
certain.
Right.
Because what I do that nobody else that I know of does is that I'm able to get right inside somebody's subconscious mind, understand, is this a PC or is this a Mac? And then beyond that, okay, what software is going through this process? I myself know that I'm a people and a money magnet, and I fly privately, and I charter planes. I don't own a plane because right now I don't fly enough to need to own a plane. I charter planes. One of the charter companies I work with down in San Diego, I often go between San Diego and Vegas, my main residence and my beach house. And one time I was flying with him, and there was nobody else on the jet, so I like to go up to the cockpit and sit with him and just chat with him while we're flying along, pass the time. And he says, Marshall, I've known you for many years, and I've watched you rolling in the dough, and I've seen you have setbacks. And then I've watched you roll in the dough again and have setbacks. What does it feel like when you're broke? I said, I've never been broke. I've been between fortunes.
I can't believe when you say that. And, you said something else that I was going to comment on, that you have to embrace the wantingness, the feeling. I remember that when I was on Wall Street and I was a trainee, I had no money. I'd just gone bankrupt. Yet
this is this time.
Before, right.
Before that.
Before that. I was actually happy. I was happy because I knew I possessed the skills that were required to be successful, massively successful. I was in the right place. I was on path. The fact that I hadn't gotten there yet didn't really matter. I was able to have happiness today because I knew I was heading in the right direction and possessed the skills.
Yep.
So it's always really, in my mind, it's like always about you have to possess the skills, right? There are real world skills you got to know, right? Yep. And then the other side is
the good news is you don't have to reinvent the wheel,
right?
Those skills in straight line selling, in your system, they're there, they work. It's science,
right?
It's a little bit of art, yet it's science,
mostly science, right?
There's particular steps that the human mind goes through to allow itself to reach more certainty, to make that buying decision.